Hello everybody, welcome back to Wild Bird Creative. Today I just have some of the papers from my digital download packs that I offer on the website. And I just printed these out onto regular copier paper. And I'm just going to try and pull a couple here and have some fun with them. Sort of thinking I like these two. So let's set the other ones aside and we'll work with them. Now I took an old pasta box, used my scalloped edge scissors, and just made my own little stencil. And I've got some brilliant yellow green. So that's what I'm going to start with, and I don't need very much. So I'm just going to put it directly on the sponge. And it's just going to give me just a very delicate scalloped edge. And then I'll move it forward a little bit and use some light blue. Same thing, I don't need very much. This is just a tiny corner. I want to go all the way to the edge on that. And then I just have just a detail. That's all it is. Nothing terribly fancy. Let's see, let's bring it along here. Same thing. Get a little more paint on here. Oops. And then this time, I'm going to pull it back a little bit. Use my green. This green's almost gone. I'm down to the bitter end. Let me grab my new one. This time I want it right up against. I want it to overlap with the blue. And it's just gives me kind of an irregular scalloped edge detail. I think I'm going to do some down here too. And I think I'll actually bring this down a little bit so that it butts right against the green. Filling that whole corner. Again, it's just for a little bit of detail. Nothing fancy, nothing to really get overly concerned about. You're just making some interesting lines. I think I'm going to crisscross this one and just do it this way. There. That's all. Just giving me a little bit of fun. Let's get the caps back on these. Set them all aside. Give this a couple seconds to dry. And then I'm just going to start tearing my sheets. And I'm not going to give it an awful lot of thought because, of course, as we always do, we will be covering these. All I'm doing is getting rid of that little bit of white edge that you get when you print something out. Let's see, let's do a little piece there, a little piece there. And let's take let's go across this way because I really like that medallion. But I don't want the whole thing. I just want a hint of it. Okay, let's put it here. That one there, and then let's tear the rest of it. So there's the basis of what I'm going to work with. I might even tear this guy back a little bit more, just because I want him to sit a little differently. Okay, so now what I want to do is I still want a little more interest in the background. So now that I know I'm going to use those, let me move my things aside, throw my sponges to the side. What do I want back there? I have a lot of options. I have my trusty tissue papers, but I don't think these colors are what I really want. I think what I want to do is come in with a fun stencil. Let's put a couple plants in here. I think the little one would be nice. Right there. Right like that. Now I want this to be an entirely different color than what I'm working with. So I'm going to go with a dark purple. I've got a different palette today. Usually I have my paper or foam plate, but this is the one I've got today. It's a little more upscale. Okay, so let's just use our sponge. Work my way around the whole stencil. Okay, set that there. Let's just grab a paper towel and just press down. It'll pick up some of the paint. Now, when you're done with this, you can either leave it as it is, or you can come in with a very tiny brush and fill in some of the stems. Either way. Sometimes I fill them in, sometimes I don't. Really depends on how much I want to embellish things. Let's add a few more of these dots though. I think those speckles, and I think I'm going to add a little bud right there. Okay, so there we are. And let's see, I still might need some more because I'm going to be covering this up. But I do want it to have a little bit of oomph. Where'd my other guys go? Okay, I do like him there. So, in the essence of time, I'm just going to use my glue stick. And I will lay that one right there. See, I'm already changing my mind. I'm tearing the pieces again and moving them around. Now I'm putting up the old brick wall. That's what this is. Just a picture that then I changed to a crosshatch pattern. Okay, let's put this guy right there. Okay, so there we are. And I still have this one, and he may end up somewhere, he may not. For right now, I'll just set him aside. Okay, the next thing I want to do is think about adding a pop of color. And I've got this little thing that was a hang tag from a display. That's what the product came in, was a box that had this little handle on it. And I've been wanting to use it. And I think this is going to be the perfect time. Make sure that I get him nice and covered. There we go. And I could go at an angle, but I tend to like to keep things very regular. It's just kind of one of my things. Now see, I don't even love that, but it's okay. It's okay because it will all work in the end. Where is my bubble wrap? That's the next thing that I want, because bubble wrap is perfect for almost every art thing you can imagine. It's good for wrapping stuff in. Oops. It's good for mark making. It's just a wonderful product. Now I'm just making a very pumpkin color. Okay, and my next mark that I want to make is my big cork. I was going to use bubble wrap, but I think I'm going to save that for the end. So let me set him aside and let me bring my big cork in. Very pumpkin. I mean, it is fall this Wednesday. Hard to believe, but that is where we are at. So let me drop that in there, and let's get a turquoise. And let me set this aside, and this time I'm going to use the bubble wrap. So what I'll do is I'm just going to butter it on using a sponge. And let's put it just love the way the bubble wrap looks. It never disappoints. Do it again in the other corner. Okay, let's put it there. We are. Now I'm getting a nice batch of texture. Wipe my hands off a little bit. Put my sponge into my mason jar. Let me just give this a little bit of time to dry before I move on to the next thing. Things don't have to be perfectly dry. but if they are somewhat dry, it tends to work out better. Now I've got lots of bits and pieces that I can use in here, but I'm still thinking that I really want a stencil. So let me pull over my container of smaller stencils that work perfectly on the 6x6. Oh, you know what? I have birds. Maybe I want a bird on here. Ooh. Let's see. Let's take a look. I don't know. I'm going to set it aside and we shall see. I don't often use my honeycomb one, and I really like it. So maybe I'll use this one next. Just in a couple spots. Just in the corners that I don't have anything. And let's go with a little bit of gold. I've got some way back here. Here we go. So this is just iridescent bright gold. And I'll just get some on here. I don't need very much because this is going to be pretty bold. There we go. And let's add some over here. Get a little more on here. I don't like to waste my iridescent paints, so I try to make sure that I don't just squeeze out a blob onto the palette, because I don't want to suddenly not have them. Now, that one really blobbed on me. That's a shame, but I'll fix that. Let's put a couple right here in the middle, incorporating that purple in. Okay, there we go. Set that aside. And what I'll do is I'll just use one of my cards and I'll just scrape this back a little bit to get that nice honeycomb detail back in here. Doesn't take very much. The paint is nice and wet. So there we go. Let's give this another second or two to dry. Don't want to rush things. I have always found when I rush things, it ends up badly in the end. Okay, now for the last thing, let me revisit the bird again. I feel like a bird would be perfect. Just not sure where. I'd want him to pop. That is the thing. I don't think a bird is what I want. At least not that bird. So let's see. What else have I got over here? I've got so many stencils to choose from. And so many papers that I have done details on. I mean, I still have this, which could go right over the top. I could tear some of this off. Let's just see. Let's just give it a tear and see how it looks. Oh, I kind of like that. I think I want to tear it along here, though. I don't think I want all that detail. really just want the 5. So maybe what I'll do is I will cut along here. And keep the 5. Yes, I like that. Okay. Glue stick. Now remember, when you're working with tissue paper or pattern paper, try to pull from the middle with your adhesive. It just makes it a little bit easier to work with. Not a whole bunch easier, but a little bit easier. So let's see, let's put it right across here. There we go. Okay, let me flip that right over right now and just trim up that excess. Gonna need a little more glue here. Not much, just a little bit, just to get that edge down. Okay, there we go. And now let's do some circles. All my circles disappeared because I covered them. So let's look at my big bin of shape making stuff. I'm not going to do grasses, so let's set that aside. Let's look at, that's a nice one. That's a nice one. We have an old spool here. Let's work with these. And let's think about what color is going to look great there. I am thinking we need something entirely different than what we've got here. We've got a lot of color going on. But I'm thinking what we need is, I mean, I've got reds, I've got blues, I've got sage. Oh, how about flamenco red? I think that will be perfect. So let's grab this, put a little bit of flamenco red, and let's start with the little guy here. And again, you just kind of roll it gently around, and then you can tap it to the side to make sure that you have it covered. I've got a little more than I want in there, so I'm going to wipe off that inside. Didn't do a very good job. Let me start that over. Let's just tap it in there. There we go. Now this is a beautiful glass cork from a liqueur bottle. They work out perfectly, and what's nice is, like a regular cork, they have 2 sides. So I can certainly use them a couple times. Just want to wipe them off in between. So let's set that aside. And then this is an old napkin ring that lost all its detail. All I want to do is, again, just get ink on it. And this one will make a very, very thin line. There we go. Okay, now we've got some nice shapes. Gonna have to set them aside. Let's immediately take this fold it over on itself and throw it right out before I have an oops. Okay, let's let this dry for a second. And I think we need one more thing and then we are done. What shape are you thinking? Or are you thinking stencil? I am thinking what we need. I'm not even sure I have the right shape in here. I think I want to use my die maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. It can be so hard to choose with so many great shapes. Let's move on to a stencil. Let's use where is my there we go. I think I want this one, and I'm going to lay it very, very carefully, and I'm going to get my black, if I can find my black. Or maybe I'll use my really dark purple again. I already have the dark purple here, so I think I will use dark purple because all I'm going to be doing is just hitting some of these corners. I really want a vignette effect. I'm not really trying to obscure anything. I'm just trying to put a little more detail here and there. Let me wipe this off just in case there's anything on the back. Okay, here we go. There we go. We're done. You know what? No, we're not. No, we're not. I want to add a couple more into the center. I feel like I need something here just quickly. There, we're done.